Hello, Kelly Bear here, filming, pre-recording a video for a change, and pre-recording for the first time on my new web camera. So if you can see me more clearly, that is why. That's also assuming that I can get the playback via YouTube to not look like dog poo, because I've been having a problem with that. As you'll see from the title of this video, I will be talking about books that I want to finish, that I'm partway through maybe and want to finish, and books that I want to read this year. I did have a bit of a binge fest on some books with the Christmas and birthday money that I received this year, so yeah, I just thought I'd crack on and get stuck in. The first section, I'm going to break this up into chapters. So the first section will be all about the tarot books. The second section will be about witchy, magical, pagan-y books. And the third section will be fiction. And fiction and non-fiction. Basically non-esoteric or occult books, I guess, is what I mean. And so if you're not interested in, you can basically jump to whatever bit you're interested or not into, you know what I mean? Well, you're not going to jump to a bit that you're not interested in. You'll jump to bits, you know what I mean. I've got a caffeinated beverage here because clearly I need it to help me with the brain thinkings. So yeah, I'm gonna get stuck in. So I've got a stack here of books. None of these have I read. I have not read any of these. Wow, I am so rusty. I'm really out of practice for this pre-recording stuff. Okay, so the first three books are actually Marseille based, pip decks books for Marseille reading, and the first one that I picked up, well, this is actually no order that I picked them up, is Seeing the World by Jean-Claude Flanois, who also created the tarot decks. He had done recreations, redrawings of the Jean de Blay and the Jean de Dalle, and yeah, this, I ordered this from France, not actually, tell a lie, I did try to buy it here in the UK, but I couldn't find it available anywhere in any of the esoteric or occult bookshops that I would usually buy from. It was out of stock. So because I had the money, I was like, well, I'll just order it direct from Roxanne, who is Jean-Claude's partner. Unfortunately, Jean-Claude himself passed away a few years ago. But she's the person that I spoke to, he was emailing with, and I ordered it direct from. That's quite nice actually, also to just, you know, I ended up paying more because of shipping and taxes, but actually, and a little bit more for the book itself, but I don't mind because it actually went straight to the Flanois family, so that's awesome. So yeah, this is a translation by David Vine, because previously this was only available in French. Unfortunately, I do not speak or read French, so I'm very grateful to David Vine for doing this, and I'm looking forward to tucking into this one. The second book I got was Paul Marteau's Tarot de Marseille. Again, this was a text that was originally only available in French, so, you know, all of the best Marseille resources are in French, because it is a, well, mostly French system via like Italy and Germany, I believe, or Austria, I can't remember, my history is a little rusty, but it's nice that there's some translations coming out that we can read, and I will place links below for where you can get these books if I can find them, because some of them were a little trickier than others. The third book that I got is by Cherry Gilchrist, and it's for reading with the triumphs, with the trumps only, and it's called Tarot Triumphs or Tarot Triumphs. Using the Marseille Tarot Trumps for divination and inspiration, and this one was one that I'd had on my reading list for a while, along with the other two, once I'd found that there were English translations, but I hadn't purchased yet. And then I saw Marilyn of Marilyn from Tarot Clarity, I keep calling her channel Marilyn in the City. I am so sorry, Marilyn, if you happen to ever see this. I doubt it, but you know, I saw Marilyn recommend one. This was one of the books that she recommended for Marseille reading, and I've been really enjoying the Tirage en Croix, which you would traditionally read only with the trumps. And so I was like, yeah, now's the time. Now that I'm doing a lot of just trumps only readings. The fourth book is actually not a book that you'd read cover to cover, and it's a book that my mum picked up for me, I believe, for my birthday. And excuse me, it's the Tarot Activity book by Andy Matson. Now, Andy Matson has got quite a few tarot books. He's got some really chunky ones. I know that Katie Flowers is working through one of his at the moment and has been doing some videos around that as well, and some lives she had done in the past where she's sort of studying, doing like a joint study thing where she went live and would study quietly while you studied as well. It's all like an accountability live, I guess. And then she would like check in periodically throughout the live, which I think is a really nice idea. So yeah, the Tarot Activity book. I originally bought the Tarot Playbook. Let me just grab that one, which I've had for a few years, which is by it says Cowles, Linda Cowles, but I don't really like the exercises in this one. And I had bought this one thinking that it was this one. I don't know what happened. I just obviously just clicked on the wrong thing. And when it arrived, and I was like, I thought I had bought the Tarot Activity, but I don't know. So now I finally have it. Thanks, Mum. So yeah, I haven't actually been dipping in and out of this so yet. But it's one of the things that I want to do because I've just been obsessed with pip readings rather than doing any like play or sort of like activity journaling. I've been doing I've been going through one of Tom Benjamin's courses again as a refresher, because I did that a couple of years ago, and then I've been doing lots of just practice readings with Marseille, and again, like I said, mostly with the trumps. The Tirage en Croix, I'm addicted. So yeah, I'm excited to get stuck into this. Obviously, when I say I want to read it this year, I'm not going to read it cover to cover. I will. There's an intro. There's a disclaimer and an intro and everything, and then it goes into. I'll just show you the. I've realised I've showed the covers of these books, but I haven't actually sort of shown inside. Should I do that? I don't know. So I'm just going to like sort of, I might just do sort of almost like a bibliomantic sort of, and like that's the exercise I do that day or something. I don't know, but it is broken down into, so I was showing the contents, but basically the contents is broken down, so rusty, into like the hero's path, mood cards, the lessons. So it's giving you the name of all the different of each exercise, and then the exercises are broken into conversation starters, writing and journaling, arts and crafts, that kind of thing. The arts and crafts one intrigues me because I feel like it will tie really nicely with another book that I'm going to be showing you later, another like a magic book. So yeah, I'll just give you a quick look at the, I mean, because I haven't read them yet, I can't comment. I don't really know. It's, I mean, I guess I could show you a little bit inside. There's a large, just black, all black and white. And then this one is the black and white version because I couldn't find the colour version in the UK, which is a shame, but it doesn't matter because I know generally what a Marseille deck looks like. You know, the print quality on the photo, the pictures, is a little fuzzy. And I guess because it's also using, you know, the original sort of copies of, see if my camera will focus. Come on, camera. Will you focus? Do you want to focus? It doesn't want to focus, but okay, so it's not helping that my camera's not focusing, but the picture itself is, the quality of the picture is also quite fuzzy, as well as the artwork in the card being quite fuzzy. And then my camera's not it's not focusing, so then it's like a triple threat of fuzziness, triple fuzz. And then the Jean-Claude Floor Noir. We've got a bit, I think, I don't know, I'm guessing about sort of the layout of the card and the way it's divided up. Woo! I got, they gave me a Jean Blay card. I've got this deck actually, it's one of my faves. As a bookmark, so I'm going to be using, it came with the book, so I'm going to be using this as the bookmark. The quality of the printing is a lot nicer in this one. Again, the type, the print is not too small for my eyes, my failing eyes. And the fifth and final book that I have with regards to tarot is a book that I picked up. I can't remember when I bought it. Maybe the end of 2020, maybe sometime towards the beginning of 2021. But it's the Tarot Handbook by Angeles Arian. And I can't remember who was talking about it. I saw someone speaking about it in a video. I think also James Feeney has recently been talking about this in one of his more recent videos. But I think it might have been Anna over at Astral Lady Tarot. Maybe she was talking about this last year. Maybe it was when she was showing her bookshelf. I think that might have been, it might have been her. If my memory's terrible these days. But yeah, I just heard that this was a really good book, and I will just flick to a couple of pages. You'll see that this is actually about the Thoth Tarot. And I massively fell off the Thoth wagon last year because I started getting back into Smith-Waite, and now I've fallen off the Smith-Waite wagon because I'm massively back into pips. But I know that I will end up circling back round to Thoth at some point, which is kind of a pip deck anyway, isn't it, when you look at the minor arcana. Oh, that's a really good temperature. I'm trying to see on, I'm recording in something called OBS, and I'm trying to see if I can work out how long I've been recording for. Is there a run time? Oh, there is. 11 minutes and 45 seconds. It's very small though. I'm going to have to really to check how long I've been. Okay, so I'm going to grab the magical books to show you as well now. Okay, so these books, there are, oh, that's a non-fiction, that shouldn't be there. These are, 3 of these I'm already partway through, and then the other ones I want to start reading. So the first one that I'm reading, you can see I'm sort of about halfway through with my little bookmark there, which is clearly obviously a tarot deck, a tarot card extra, is Changeling by Aidan Wachter. I've spoken about Aidan Wachter a lot on my channel and in my lives for the last few years. He released his first book, 6 Ways, in 2018. I think I picked it up at the end of 2018, and that has been a mainstay for me since then. So basically just over 3 years. It completely tore down everything that basically, what I did is I just started all from scratch. I was like, let's pretend I'm a noobler. Let's pretend I don't really know anything or have never practiced anything before, and just start with beginner's mind. And I went straight in. I was aware of Aidan Wachter's work. I had listened to him speaking on podcasts, and I listened to a lot of his when he was promoting the book, and so I knew what I was getting into. That's the reason I bought the book, because I really enjoyed Aidan Wachter as a person. I really like the way that he speaks. I like the way that he views things. I like the way that he makes everything very accessible and grounded. And yeah, it was a real eye-opener, that book, and it's literally over by my bedside, right next to my dream journal and my magical journal on my bedside cabinet. And it usually either goes, it moves between my bedside table, my desk just here, and just right next to my altar space, because I use it like I use it all the time, and I read it all the time. And I've been working with that for a long time. I don't have his second book, which is called Weaving Fate. That book focuses on 3 main practices. It focuses on the Black Book, the Fever Stone, and the Corridor. Those are 3 exercises that Aidan Wachter uses, 3 magical practices, approaches as he would call them. but it's not something that I want to do at the moment. Changeling is his third book. This came out towards the end of last year, and it's all about the first, it says a book of qualities, because the first half of the book is all about the qualities of a witch, what makes a witch. And there are exercises and charms and enchantments and little spells and things with each section. There's 50 or 50 odd of them, 50 or 55 qualities of a witch. And he's not saying these are the qualities you have to have. He's just saying these are the qualities, these are really useful qualities to have as a witch. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you feel that you have some of these already? Are there some that you don't have that you would like to acquire, and so on? So he doesn't tell you this is how it is. It's I guess this is becoming a little bit of a review because I've read half of it as well. But yeah, there's 55 qualities, and then the second half of the book is called Praxis, which is obviously practice, or what you're doing in your practice. And he's just giving you some things to work with, some approaches to work with. So you've got a section on timing, and it's called The Year, the Moon and Sacred Time. There's a section about the 4 roads. Aidan Wachter talks a lot about crossroads and the power of crossroads. And in his second book, I do know that he part of the approach, I think it's to do with the Fever Stone, involves crossroads and road openers and that kind of thing. The arts of asking, and then he talks about his closing thoughts, and he's got a bibliography and suggested resources, always citing his sources here, which is good. But yes, so far really enjoying it. Love Aidan Wachter. I recommend, I would say, even though this is his third book, I would say this would be a really good to read first. If you've never done anything magical before, I would say Changeling and 6 Ways will get you started really nicely. I do really like Psychic Witch by Matt Oren, and he does have a follow-up book coming out later this year called Psychic Magic, which I'm very excited about. But it is a lot of work, which is what the craft is. It's a craft, it's a work, it's a doing, it's a verb. But I do feel that 6 Ways and now Changeling is a lot more sort of, it gets you off running, and then I would supplement that with Psychic Witch once you've sort of, like, 6 Ways hands down for a favourite book for beginners. Although I'm about to talk about another one, which is The Dabbler's Guide to Witchcraft by Firelight. Firelight ran the Inciting a Riot podcast. Now, Firelight has recently, at the beginning of the year, has gone to, this was his pen name, his magic, like, witchy name, and he's since changed the name of his podcast, because he had the podcast for 12 or 13 years. He started it when he was, I believe, in college or just left college, and that's a long time to be running a podcast, and he's really changed as a person and grown as a practitioner and as a person. And so he's now changed it to Head on Fire. You can still find it on the same feed, and you listen to the old Inciting a Riot episodes. I highly recommend it. And he's also gone to his actual real name, which is Don something or other. His real first name is Don. But yeah, so it's The Dabbler's Guide to Witchcraft. You can see I'm just under halfway through it. This is a beginner's book, but it's different to a lot of beginner books, because it talks about a lot of things that witchy books don't talk about, or certainly didn't when I was first reading, like 101 books, which is about sort of ethics and appropriation, and you know, it's very queer friendly and inclusive. Don himself is a gay man, and so he's coming at it from a queer perspective. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I would also, depending on the person that I'm recommending to, if I think they just want, I would maybe recommend this one so far from what I've read, or 6 Ways. 6 Ways has no framework surrounding it. It's not a system with any attachments to any culture or anything. It is very much its own thing, and you can lay any sort of framework that you're interested in on top of that or into that. Whereas this is very much coming from a sort of very definite witchy perspective. Anyway, I didn't mean to start going into reviews. The other book that I am over halfway through is Durgadas Alan Duriel's The Little Work. I sort of really got into this and then I fell off the wagon. And it's basically ways that you can bring magic into your life and practice a daily practice. That reminds me, I need to watch. Thorn Mooney has done a video, I think it was last week that she put it up on her channel about why you need to stop trying to have a daily practice. So I do need to go and watch that, because that sounds interesting to me and something that I've sort of kind of do slightly agree with. And honestly, it's a lot in here. Like, if you were trying to do all the things in here for daily stuff, I think it would be a lot. And I think I would pick and choose stuff to do from this every now and then. But it does hang more in a framework. There's a lot more stuff about Kabbalah. There's a lot of stuff about sort of chakras and yoga and all sorts of other stuff. And I do think I prefer Six Ways as a much more sort of stripped back, accessible approach. But I do think there's a lot of useful information in here. But I think it's more of a pick and mix for me. But Durgadas is coming at this from a perspective of a therapist. He's it says he's initiate of the Hermetic Mysteries, and he's also a certified holistic health practitioner. So he's a therapist. Oh my goodness. The next book that I've got, which is sort of a witchy book, was gifted to me by a friend a couple of weeks ago. She sent it to me to cheer me up, and it is a book of essays. It's called Becoming Dangerous: Witchy Femmes, Queer Conjurers and Magical Rebels, and I'm very much looking forward to dipping into this. This had already been on my to read list. It is edited by Katie West and Jasmine Elliott and has a foreword by Kristen J. Soleil, and she was the one who wrote Witches, Sluts and Feminists, which I have also spoken about on my channel before, because I have read that. So yeah, we've got there's Gabriella Herstick is in here. She's known as a well, in Twitter anyway, a well-known sex magic practitioner and sex worker. Sim Bajwa, Sarah David, Nora Khan. I don't know how many 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 essays on a variety of subjects. So one of them is titled Before I Was a Woman, I Was a Witch. Gabriella Herstick's one is called Undressing My Heart. Let's see, there's one by Larissa Pam called Buzzcut Season. One called Red Glitter by Sophie St. Thomas. So yeah, I feel like it's Lee Alexander, Lee Alexander, that name rings a bell, has an essay here called I Am Myself, a Body of Water. So yeah, so I'm really interested to get into that, and that's a nice one that I can dip in and out of, and I don't have to read it in order. I can read according to my mood, I guess, what I fancy reading. The next three are purely like they're magical books, but they're based very much on singular subjects, so they're sort of digging down. And I think that's a problem. A lot of people say, well, how do I learn about a lot of the books? That people get frustrated because they get to a certain point with witchcraft or a magical practice, and they're saying, what do I do next? Because a lot of the books out there are like Tarot 101, Tarot on the Brain, Witchcraft 101, or Paganism 101, or Magic 101, whatever you want to call it, Wicca 101 for people that are Wiccan. And apologies, don't want my tea to go cold. And a lot of them can be samey. This happened to me in the late 90s and the early noughties, and the books were not as good as they are now. We are swimming in a sea of amazing books. There are a lot of not great books still out there, that like new ones as well, that like look pretty but are all like style no substance. But there are some really good books out there now. Like I just am in awe. Like 16-year-old me would just be like, oh my goodness. But yeah, a lot of the books that I was picking up in the late 90s and early noughties were very, very samey. And I think Scott Cunningham was probably the one that I found really that was accessible to me at the time, where there was a more sort of singular approaches, because he had books about herbs and oils and incense, he had books about elemental magic, he had books about half magic, he had books about candle magic. You know, it was more, he was sort of showing you the different approaches. But yeah, that's what I say to people if they want to take their magical practice or witchcraft further. It depends. Do you want to get ceremonial? Are you looking at hermetic texts? Are you looking, what are you interested in? I'm not interested in ceremonial magic. I'm not interested in thelema. I'm not interested in any of those kind of things. I'm not interested in any of those old magical orders like the OTO or anything like that. I am very much a dirt witch, as Aidan Watt would call it. I'm a dirt witch, a kitchen witch, a green witch. Which is funny, right? Because I'm a Londoner. I'm an urban witch. Yeah, I'm not interested in like the bells and whistles. I'm much more interested in just getting it done. So 6 Ways, which I mentioned earlier by Aidan Watt, talks a lot about sigil magic, and there's usually quite an agreed way that most people do sigils these days, and it stems from, who was it? I can't remember now off the top of my head. Nope, I cannot remember off the top of my head. But Laura Tempest Sakharov has done a whole book about sigil witchery. I have wanted this book since it came out. When did this book come out? And the number of times I picked it up in a bookshop and put it back down, and I'm like, no, because I don't need it. But I want it, precious. This is the 6th printing. 2018. I've wanted this book for 4 years and I finally have it. And I love that it's square. It's really satisfying, and it's got that lovely waxy rose petally kind of cover, which I love. Yeah, this is a book all about sigil magic and different approaches to sigil witchery, not the approach that most people are familiar with. And so I really wanted to dig in with that, because sigils is something that I use via, like, I never really used to use sigils until I read 6 Ways. And so I just wanted to look at different ways of doing that. So there's that. I'm excited about the next one. Oh my goodness, this is a blast from the past. Now, I know she gets some flack, but actually I feel like she needs to be redeemed. And it's Silver Ravenwolf, right? Because a lot of, I'm a Silver Ravenwolf witch. There are several reasons I got into witchcraft in the 90s. One of them is the craft. One of them is The Worst Witch. Well, I was obsessed with that when I was a kid. But like the film with Tim Curry, I rewatched it recently. It's so bad. It's memories, right? And both of those films, funnily enough, have Fairuza Balkin as one of the main. She plays Mildred Hubble in The Worst Witch, and then obviously she plays Nancy in The Craft. But yeah. Silver Ravenwolf books really sucked me in, and I wish, like a few years ago, I sold my original 90s copy of Teen Witch, because I was like, I'm never going to use this again, and I wouldn't, but it would have been nice to reread it and just keep it for like sentimental reasons maybe. But yeah, so I looked down there because I thought my dog had come in, but my spouse is out walking her, so no. And he left just before I started recording. But it's Puppet Man. Anyway, get on with it. It's Puppet Magic by Silver Ravenwolf. I've seen a few people recommend this. These are approaches that I use, that I would just want new ways of looking at, because they're approaches that I enjoy. I think I've shown there's my, oh no, they haven't gone. I can hear they get gearing up. I thought they'd already left. Sorry, I can hear my spouse putting my dog's harness on, our dog's harness on. But yeah, so this looks really, really good. Oh, Mama Silver, there she is. But yeah, she actually, are her earlier books perfect? No, but I do think we do her a disservice when we completely discard everything. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. But yeah, there's different, I've been using the same poppet shape for ages, and like style, literally just use 2 pieces of felt. I draw around a gingerbread person cutter, I've literally called their not a ginger dead man, and it's like a gingerbread person with skeleton. I use that as the template, and I'm like, I need to like freshen up my approach. But here there's all sorts of things going on here. It talks about techniques and supplies. There's way more like elaborate poppets. We've got wax poppets, it looks like. And this includes grave dirt. I'm planning on going to visit the family plot to help tidy it up with my dad soon, and I'm planning to get some more grave dirt from it. More of a classic, what you would think of poppet. This looks a lot more like the poppets that I make, and I make mine in felt because felt doesn't fray, so it's perfect. What else have we got? Showing you how to make them. Well, there's one, I think this is made out of snow. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm really excited to, it's very like, it's got lots of nice pictures, it doesn't look too heavy. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one, and it's just going to be like a blast from the past, reading something by Mama Silver Ravenwolf. And I know people said that they didn't like how like she conflated witchcraft with Wicca, and the way that she talked about teenagers being secretive and stuff like that. But I think people today forget what, not so much here in the UK, but in the USA, this was coming off the back or in the midst of Satanic Panic, because Satanic Panic was still a thing in the mid-90s when Silver was publishing her books. It was mostly about keeping teens safe if their family was really, you know, really evangelical. That, you know, people have been abused for practicing, children have been abused for whether they're queer or witches or whatever, so it was about keeping them safe. And I think also the way that she was very vehemently, I mean, it's been a long time since I've read a Silver Ravenwolf book, sort of anti-Christian, but I think it was just again coming off the back of evangelical Satanic Panic and trying to sort of very much say, look, it's okay if you want to practice witchcraft. And yeah, the whole Wicca and witchcraft conflation, again, it was very much trying to sort of defang witchcraft, not in that sense, but like saying, hey, it's okay, witchcraft is Wicca and Wicca is witchcraft, and it's all cool, and we just like love bunnies and the earth, and it's all, we're fine, we're not mean, we don't kill babies, you know. Whereas now we do tend to delineate the two, because they are two separate things. You don't have to be Wiccan to be a witch, and you don't actually have to be a witch to be a Wiccan, from my understanding. The final witchy book, God, can I get on with it, is Art Magic by Molly Roberts. Anyone who hasn't heard of Molly Roberts here on YouTube, go check her out. She's lovely, she's wonderful. One of her most popular videos, which was one of the first ones I saw of hers, which is about rocking your grimoire, and she talks about how you can take just an old book that you might pick up at a thrift shop, like an old, and repurpose it as an art grimoire, and it's such a wonderfully inspiring book. But here she's talking about all different magical approaches. Her channel's really good. She doesn't post as often as she used to, but it's just so beautiful. This is one of those books, I haven't read it, but I imagine it has style and substance, because Molly's been practicing for a very long time and she does know her stuff. And I just love how it's just a nice size book. The pictures are nice size. I think this is a scrying mirror, how to make a scrying mirror, but it's very personal, and it just makes me feel like a teenager again, in the way that I had to work with what I had. I had made a lot of what I made my first wand back in the 90s. Like, I decorated my first journal to make it all witchy. Like, I just went ham, and this just makes me, it just makes me feel like a teenager all over again. So I'm looking forward to trying the projects out in this. So yeah, anyway, so those are all the witchy books I want to read this year. I feel like I'm never going to get through all of these this year, but I'm going to try, because we're already 4 months in almost, aren't we? So I'm not giving myself much time to get through them, especially when I've got really bad concentration levels these days. But I'm now just going to go and grab the final books, the mostly fiction. Okay, so the first one is a non-fiction, and it's by someone I have been obsessed with for a very, very long time. I think I was recommended a video of hers back in 2012 when I went to a death cafe that a friend of mine was running. Someone said, have you heard of the Ask a Mortician YouTube channel? And I was like, no, but I'm very interested as soon as you said the name of the channel. And that was, yeah, back in 2012, I think. And ever since, I have been an avid fan and follower of Caitlin Doughty. I read her memoir, Smoke Gets in My Eyes. I recommend it to everyone. It's amazing. My spouse managed to pick me up a signed hard copy as a gift when it first came out, and I love it so much. I tore through that book. It was amazing. So if you're interested in macabre, anything macabre, death positive movement, that kind of thing, Caitlin Doughty is for you. Go check out her channel. But one of her other books, this is her third book, and this is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? And this is a number of questions that Caitlin received from children, because children are curious about, you know, death and dying and what happens to us when we pop our clogs, and none of us really know, right? Let's be honest. But this is more about what happens to you physically, what happens to your body. I have already read. I've read up there. I've read up to there. I've read the first few, and I'm already loving it. I should put. Yeah. Let's just put a. I hadn't actually put a thing in, a bookmark in. But yeah, I've already read a few, and it is awesome, and I love it. And actually, Caitlin did do, I think it was part of promotion for this book when it first came out. When was it? A couple of years ago? Was it 2020 it came out? 2019, 2020. There's a video on her channel where she actually has tea with children, and children ask her death questions. It's really, really good and very, very sweet, and these children are really switched on and engaged and ask really interesting questions. So I'll see if I can remember to link that below if you want a taster of Caitlin's. It's a bit different to her usual videos, but yeah, I definitely recommend anything by Caitlin Doughty. So I'm part way through this, very, very, only a little bit, but yeah. The next three are all linked, and they are fiction. The first one is where's my bookmark? Oh my god, it had fallen down. It's one of the Oak, Ash and Thorn end cards. I'm almost halfway through. I got halfway through in January. This was a gift from Simon at the Hermit's Cave for Christmas for me. It's one of the collector's hardbacks. But I slowed my roll because I realised that the other two books have not been released in hardback, and I don't want to buy them in paperback to read them and then also then buy the hardbacks, so I've got the set. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But then Simon got me is it this one? Hang on, which one is which? I can't remember which is which. Is it book 1 or book 2? I believe it's this one, Crooked Kingdom, which is about the crows. In the the Netflix adaptation of Shadow and Bone, these two, because they're intertwining stories and they make them run parallel in the show, they've intertwined them together. But the books themselves are actually separate. So I need to look up if I can read these two crows books and not be too worried about it spoiling anything for Shadow and Bone. I believe Shadow and Bone is coming out with season 2 sometime this year on Netflix as well. But I believe, like, if the people have published these 3 first, it makes me think that, like, why would they publish this and then these 2 if you couldn't all just read these 3? Surely they would have published the first 2 of these and the first 1 of these. I don't know, so I need to look into that. But I did sort of have a panic and I slowed my roll, which is why I didn't finish this, and I do need to look up whether I can. I don't know, there's no announcement on when the second and third books of this will be released, but I would like to get the collector's editions. The third book, actually, tell a lie, I've got 2 coffee table books that I've not properly read. Again, these are presents from my spouse. We just buy each other books for presents, especially seeing as we're not going anywhere these days. So I've got The Cabinet of Curiosities, which is one of my Christmas books from my spouse. I've flicked through it and I've looked at a bunch of the, you know, the illustrations. and in the book, and read like little bits. Here we go. We've got The Vampires from the Strain. I finally finished The Strain last year. I watched it all on because it was on Disney Plus, I believe. And I was like, oh, I could finish it, because it used to be on Netflix, I think, and then they took it off, and I could before I'd finished it. We've got Sciammo himself. We're one of the creatures from the first Hellboy film. And so, yeah, I want to sit down and like properly like look through this cover to cover, because it does sort of go through. It seems to start off with like his Spanish films, his original films that he did in Spanish, which I've watched. I've watched almost all of his films. The only 2 films I haven't watched are, tell a lie, 3 now, I still haven't watched The Shape of Water. Why not? Because I love Doug Jones, like massive Doug Jones fangirl. Obviously he's in a ton of Del Toro films. There's also, I haven't watched the second Pacific Rim film with John Boyega. I know that he's in that. I'd like to see that. I really enjoyed the first one. I watched that for the first time last year. And the new one, Nightmare Alley, which I was going to watch the other night, but was too tired. So I would like, so those 3, I've watched everything else he's done. Love him. So I want to properly get stuck in with that. I love that. I have the Del Toro Tarot book, which I'm obsessed with. And the other one, I guess, again, it's the bestiary, the Dark Crystal bestiary, The Creatures of Thra. I finally finished Age of Resistance on Netflix, and then I watched the documentary about the making of it. Gutted they didn't renew it for season 2, but it must have cost a fortune. But here we go. We've got Skeksis and Mystics. They're counterparts because they are 2 parts of a whole. For anyone who has never seen the Dark Crystal, I was obsessed with the Dark Crystal as a kid. I liked Labyrinth, but I loved the Dark Crystal. There are no humans in the Dark Crystal. It's all creatures. It's all puppets. And the reason I didn't look at this until I'd finished watching The Age of Resistance is that I was worried that there would be spoilers for characters, because I was flicking through and I saw that Law was featured in this book. And Law is a character from Age of Resistance. And then here you've got, where is he? They've got Podlings, but they've got Hap. Is it Hap? What's his name? So yeah, I think this is Hap. He's the one. He's in Age of Resistance as well. He's so cute. I love him. But I was like, oh God, if I start looking through this, it might spoiler anything else in the show that I've not seen. So I got this this was one of my birthday presents in January, so I put this aside until I'd finished Age of Resistance. I finished it last weekend, so now I can look at that. The last 2 books, which I'm just going to keep in this section, are actually art books. Again, pick presents from my spouse. One of them I'd wanted for ages, and that was Imaginary Characters, and it's basically a mixed media book, art book, showing you different ways of creating imaginary fun characters in your art journaling work and collage work. I don't do a lot of faces, like people, in my artwork or in my art journaling. I'm much more about, oh, that's a bit of fun. I really got into drawing dogs for a while. And so I really like drawing skulls or weird spooky stuff, I guess. Not one for like really drawing people, and I think it's partly because I don't have the confidence, because I'm so rusty now and so out of practice that I'm like, it feels like basically starting from scratch, learning to draw people again. But this is more approachable, right? Because it's more whimsical, it's more abstract, and I feel like it's a less intimidating way to get back into creating characters. Essentially, I used to draw people and characters all the time when I was a kid and as a teen. I even created this whole like family of characters that I used to draw obsessively and put them in different scenarios and draw little comics of them. This character that I called her Henrietta. I wonder if I could find any of that. If I ever find it when I'm going through stuff in the attic, I'll pull it out to show. But and that was before I learned to do proper, like, you know, proper like drawing of words are failing me, like not life drawing, realistic. Oh my god, my brain. This caffeine has done absolutely nothing for my like cogniz. Can't even say the word I want to say. Cognitive function. Oh my goodness. But anyway, yeah, so I like, when you're a kid you just draw, you don't care. Well, I just would just draw whatever I wanted, and then when I started taking more official classes in art, I feel like it restricted me, it stunted me, because I was a kid that was always pushed to be like, have to be good at everything straight away, and if I wasn't, then it was like a disaster. And because there's a learning curve with certain things when it comes to art, it made it stressful and no longer enjoyable, and I'm trying to still get that back with certain types of art. It's not like that for all mediums for me, and it's not like that for all like things that you can possibly draw or paint, but people is definitely one of them. And then the final one was a book that I remember Dustin over at Modern Metaphysicae was like, look at this book, it's really cute and it's all watercolors, and he was like doing all the little, you know, it shows you what coloured paints to use, and then it's watercolour paper. I know it's not like the best watercolour paper, but it's better than now, and it shows you how to paint each little thing in the book. So we've got dogwood rose, a cabin, and it's all woodland themed. There are another two now. There's one that's based around the ocean, and I believe there's a jungle one. I may be misremembering that, but this one, I mean, come on, into the forest, very much my bag. So yeah, after all of that, that is a lot of books. I don't think I'm going to get through all of them, but I certainly have enough to be getting on with. And do you know what? When I was looking through, I was like, there are other books that I would like to read that I haven't started reading, or I'm only part way through. But because I'm terrible at finishing, I'm terrible at starting. I'm terrible at getting started, and once I get started, I'm really terrible at finishing. It's a real problem I have. So yeah, I'm like, well, if I ever get in the mood to read those, I'll get around to it. But these are the ones that are most inspiring me, that I want to get on with. Where are the other? Oh, that's all of them. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, just there we go. So I've got my work cut out for me. But yeah, that's all, folks. That's my first pre-recorded video in a while. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's very long-winded, but it's me. That's just how I am. And that is either okay with you or it's not. And if it's not, then you don't need to watch, as I like to say. So I feel like I'm distracted by like how red and itchy I am there, because I've got like a hive coming up. Anyway, overshare. I'm going to go and... I was going to say I'm going to go get some chocolate, but I've just remembered I left my chocolate here by my desk, so I can finish my cup of tea with some chocky, and I'm going to carry on watching the Katie Flowers video that I was watching earlier whilst eating lunch. So yeah, you take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.